Let what? The following program is a work of fiction created for educational, artistic, and harm reduction purposes, in compliance with the Video Corp terms of service. I love Video Corp. I love the rules. Any resemblance to actual persons is a super crazy coincidence. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you. T.S. Natalie Wynn. War. What is it good for? Absolutely God, Sam, everything, according to the National Institute for Strategic American Liberty Heritage Enterprise Prosperity Commerce Policy Research. Hi, I'm Jackie Jackson. You're listening to the Freedom Pod, where it doesn't matter what you say, it only matters that you say. We don't discriminate here between what is true or false or even downright dangerous. That's none of my business. It's none of America's business. The important thing is that you never stop talking, because that's what freedom is all about. Tonight, the war on drugs. How do we get these goddamn junkies off the streets? Jackie. My first guest is Justine Tableau, leftist influencer and author of such books as Revolutionize Your Brand, How to Capitalize on Communism. The editor chooses the title. I didn't choose the title. And my second guest is Virginia Lamb, senior pastor at Hope Truth Ministries. Virginia, let's begin with you. Every day in Biden's America, Muslim cartels are driving Mexican dump trucks full of Chinese fentanyl across the Rio Grande, and they're getting our children amped out of their little minds on hype. The world is laughing at us, even the Canadians, with their pronouns and their genders. How have we reached this point? 2 words, Jackie. Sexual anarchy. Let that sink in. Let what sink in? Sexual anarchy? What does that even mean? Jackie, the enemy has taken control of our culture. The radical left and the corporate media, they're replacing the nuclear family with aimless fornication. They're tearing apart the social fabric, and normal Americans are being silenced. That's why we're seeing all this woke, cancel culture, PC, CRT, SJW, Globo, Homo, Pomo, Nomo. The people pushing this agenda, they don't want us resisting our captivity in Babylon, and that's why we're seeing so many attacks today on the most persecuted minority in America, the Christian majority. Virginia, I appreciate your pious gibberish, but could you be a little more specific? Of course, Jackie. Religious liberties are under attack. We're losing our right to teach biblical morality to children who are growing up in public schools run by social engineers who laugh at God and would rather have gender-neutral bathrooms and drag queen story hour than teach young people about the wonder-working power of the precious blood of the Lamb. Yes, we do still have a constitution in this country. I'm sorry that you feel offended by it. Believe it or not, the founding fathers actually wanted to protect us from whatever twisted necromancy these people think is Christianity. Jackie, these communists are polluting the innocence of children, and if you speak out against the grooming, they call you a bigot. Parents get no say anymore. They're being vilified just for having legitimate concerns about the deviant lifestyles promoted in schools. You know, one day your kids will come home and you won't even recognize them anymore. That's the real agenda here. Sexual indoctrination. This generation that's coming up, 20% identify as LGBT, 40% are attempting suicide, and the remaining 70% are being delivered directly into the hands of pornographers, satanic cultists, or worse, Episcopalians. No, I won't stand for that. I'm sorry, what does this have to do with drugs? Well, everything. Addiction and sexual brokenness, these are 2 heads of the same serpent, symptoms of the same cultural leprosy. Single mothers, weak, emasculated fathers, childhood sexual Is anyone going to ask me what I think? Why was I invited onto this podcast to sit here and listen to the ramblings of a bigoted hate preacher? Well, God has nothing to do with hate. Christ is the definition of love. Well, I'm not talking about Christ, Virginia. I'm talking about you. Justine, if she doesn't hate anyone, then how can she be a bigot? You liberals call everyone who disagrees with you a bigot. Exactly. Why can't you just leave your emotions out of it for once and have a calm, rational conversation with people who have different opinions? Okay, well, let's see how that goes. Jackie, regular Americans like me are just trying to set people free from sexual brokenness and protect the rights of children. Kids who are struggling with gender confusion should have the right to access reparative therapy that will make them whole again. Reparative therapy? You mean handing gay children over to exorcists for years of torture? What a terrible wound of self-disgust to inflict on young people, telling them they're broken and polluted and they need God to make them whole. You people are selling the cure to a sickness you created. Are you cancel culturing me right now? Oh my god, she's totally cancel culturing you right now. Are you thought policing me? No. I'm trying to stop you from thought policing everyone else. You're saying it should be a thought crime? You're saying that I'm a thought criminal? Just because I happen to believe in the traditional biblical definition of marriage between a man and a woman who form a covenant before God, who gave his only begotten son to wash away the sins of the world when he died on the cross and was resurrected 3 days later, all glory to his name. Jackie, these are the silencing tactics of the radical left. And I'm sure the blue check Twitter mob is already coming for me because you can't say anything anymore. And Christians like me, our voices are being silenced. You know who's really being silenced? People who are silent. Being silent is a big part of being silent. That's what being silenced means. So who's really being silenced? Not people on podcasts. Not rich morons screaming into the biggest megaphone in world history about how silenced they are. No. The people who are silenced are people we never hear from. Because, and I really can't emphasize this enough, they are silenced. People in prison, queer teenagers in conservative towns, the actual downtrodden and oppressed people of this country. Not you, Miss America. Not you, Mother Superior. You're not silenced. You just know that what you're saying is indefensible, so you defend your right to say it. Okay, but if I'm not being silenced, then why can't I say the N-word? Why do you want to say the N-word? So I only have freedom of speech when it conforms to your liberal ideology? God damn it, Jackson. That sounds a little bit like being silenced. She's stonewalling me. All over America today, white parents are having to sit their children down and explain that there's certain words they just can't say because of the color of their skin. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would be turning in his grave. Would he? I mean, he's definitely turning in his grave, but not for the reasons you think. Jackie, can I bring this back on topic and share the good news of the gospel? That's not the topic. I have prayed on this, and honestly, the Holy Spirit has filled me with so much compassion for young people struggling with same-sex temptation. You know, when I look out at all these angry people at the Pride Parade, doing all this sexual acting out and wearing provocative clothing in a desperate bid for attention, I see the broken childhoods, and I see the craving for acceptance and belonging, and I feel for them. I really do. Wow, you're such a good person for taking pity on the poor, sad homos. You know, what you people really love is the aesthetic of being compassionate, but all you're really doing is calling into question the worthiness of other people's lives. Yeah, Virginia, why can't you just live and let live, you know? Whatever happened to love your neighbor? Jackie, anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm the most compassionate person that they know. But love your neighbor doesn't mean anything goes. And it certainly doesn't mean that we all just bow down to the intimidation tactics of the secular ruling elite. It doesn't mean that we can't ask questions about this narrative we're all being force-fed that God and Scripture have no place in American life anymore, that we're all supposed to submit to the takeover of these Marxist plutocrats imposing their queer ideology, which says that if your child comes home from school and announces she's a different gender this week, then you have no choice but to surrender her to the surgeon's knife, slicing up tiny little children's bodies. That's where this is headed. The shrine of Moloch. Oh my god, no one is slicing up children's bodies. What are you talking about, you absolute lunatic? Well, speaking of the transgenders, in the interest of full disclosure, I feel I should let our listeners know that one of our guests this week used to be a man. Isn't that right, Justine Tableau? Or should I say, Justin? Oh, come on! Really? Alright, we're doing this. Is this a throwback to the 1970s? No, it's a throw forward to the 20 I don't give a fuck. Well, don't mind if I do. Ugh. Nothing wrong with the proud history of good American tobacco. Good Virginia tobacco. Jackie. The Freedom Podcast LLC does not endorse the sale or use of cigarettes, vaporizers, or other nicotine products to individuals under 21 years of age. Some restrictions apply. Results may vary. Excuse me, Jackie. I'm really not comfortable with this. I was not warned that there would be a transgender here today, and I really have nothing to say to this eunuch servant of Jezebel. Well, I wasn't planning to spend my day seated across from a goddamn exorcist, but here we are. Virginia, if you're not prepared to get splashed, then you can get out of the free speech zone, because you're about to get wet. Excuse me? I agreed to this podcast because I thought you were a conservative. I'm a libertarian. Anything goes, baby, USA. Jackie, the problem with libertarians is that a society with no values cannot function. Christians tried to warn you that if you changed the definition of marriage, it would be a free-for-all. And now, here we are, 96.5 genders are being taught in American classrooms. It seems we've forgotten that God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Eve and Kai and Jaden and Caden and Lilith and Ashton and Skylar and Rainbow. Homosexuality is a gateway drug to transgenderism, and from there, it's just one step away to pedophilia and bestiality. And that's the real agenda here. These people want to lower the age of consent and legalize sodomy with all the beasts that walk the earth, and the birds of the sea, and all the fishes of the sky. Well, Virginia, if you're so worried about it, why don't you take your Mickey Mouse sexual neurosis back to the nunnery in old Missouri? Do they not have demons to slay in the back country? I rejoice in persecution and revilement for the sake of righteousness, for the Lord commands me not to hate my brother, Justin. Wow, super controversial, super provocative, super brave and super bold. We're living in Orwell's nightmare, but you're a freedom fighter and you refuse to be silenced. Amazing. Look, I just think it's great that three people with differing opinions can all sit down in a room and have a respectful conversation. Well, cheers to us. Is it great? You know, I don't think it's that great. And I don't think there's anything respectful about the two of you sitting here interrogating the morality of queer people, something you know absolutely nothing about. Oh, I know more than you might think. I used to be a homosexual. No, you God, what? No, I'm not doing this today. I'm sorry, you used to be a homosexual? That's right, Jackie. Before I was saved, here we go. I used to be a lesbian. That's who I thought I was. I lived that lifestyle. You used to be a lesbian. Okay. Name 5 things you love about men. This should be good. Gather round, everyone. Let's all witness the power of Christ. I'm sure this will be very convincing. I love the Lord, who does not command me to be straight. He commands me to be holy. Fear not, you will no longer live in shame, for your Creator will be your husband. Okay. Well, if you want to be the bride of Christ, then by all means, but, you know, keep it in the bedroom. I'm tired of you people shoving your lifestyle in everyone's face. Virginia, I'm confused. I thought people are just born that way. Like, Jesus can't change that. Jackie, the mainstream media establishment doesn't want you to know that people like me exist, because that goes against their narrative. But recovered homosexuals should be allowed to tell our story. The ploy of the enemy is to make us feel that we cannot change. But what if every addict said, well, I'm just a junkie, that's who I am, I sexually identify as an alcoholic, so Jesus can't change me? Well, that's a good point. No, it isn't. Gay is just a feeling. Homosexual lust, same-sex temptation, that's a feeling, not an identity. Like, maybe you struggle with wrath, but you don't identify as wrathful. Maybe sometimes you want to punch it on your face, I want to punch you in the face, and yet you haven't punched me. Lo and behold, you have a desire without acting on the desire. When I was saved, I left behind the false identity I used to walk in, and I was delivered by Christ's transformative love. My old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who lives, but Christ lives in me. But before I made God Lord of my desires, I was controlled by sin, by drugs, by alcohol, by homosexuality. So you used to be cool, and now you're boring. Wow, behold the power of Christ. You think it's cool to be contaminated in fornication? Yes, I do. It's pretty cool. I'm sure we're all a little contaminated in fornication. Is this a joke to you? Do you find this humorous? Yeah, I don't. Because I have glimpsed the gates of hell, where unrepentant souls endure the horrors of sin, away from God, shut out from grace, tormented by unyielding guilt and shame. Yes, we've all been to Cincinnati. Can we wrap this back around to the drug topic? Virginia, you're saying you used to be an addict? That's right, Jackie. What were you addicted to? Miracle Whip? Veggie Tales? Communion wafers, maybe? No. I was addicted to alcohol, to pornography, to lusting after women, and to hype. Hype? You, Virginia Bam, were a hype addict? Look, Virginia, can you drop a quick story time on this? Because I am intrigued. Jackie, I would love to testify. You know, growing up, I never really felt connected to my mother. Girl, not this. When I left home, I was lost. I was a wretch. I was on fire, and I rebuked that fire. I used foul language, I went out clubbing, I cut my hair off, I gained weight. I was tempted by same-sex attraction, and I struggled with gender confusion, you know? I was always a little more masculine. I'd even started down the path toward transgendered. I used to shoot up testosterone. That's why my voice is a little lower. Yeah, the two of you sound kind of the same, honestly. If I didn't know, I don't think I could tell which one of you is the man. Neither of us is the man, Jacqueline. Though, if anything, this one's the man. He's the one injecting testosterone. God has healed the feminine within me. All along, God was tugging at my heart. But for me, the road to heaven led me home. I felt a terrible void inside. I lived in the flesh. I lived in sin with another woman, hoping to satisfy that hunger. Here we go. When I gazed upon her beauty, I thought sunlight had broken through the clouds. But the light I saw was nothing but the fire of my own wickedness. I knew that lifestyle was wrong, but I couldn't quit. Until she broke my heart. And then I was cast into the outer darkness. Yeah, she probably got tired of your Jesus bullshit. It was like a part of me was ripped away, and I was left to face my brokenness alone. What was she, a Capricorn? No, a Sagittarius. Well, there's your problem. Next time, maybe try a water sign. Shh, stop interrupting. I'm living for the drama. Jackie, I was alone. I was suicidal. I was an addict. I was lost. Until one day, I decided to go to church with my mom, and I was surrounded by these women singing. What can wash away my sin? What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus that washes white as snow. And I felt this tingling all over my body, and I knew I was hearing the voice of God for the very first time. Not just the words of the hymn, but the voice of the Father speaking directly to me. Yes, we all like music, and suddenly my pain made sense. I don't have to live this way anymore. In that moment, I was transfigured by the Holy Spirit. I was cleansed. I was healed. I was delivered. I was sanctified. I was redeemed. My guilty stains were washed away, and I exchanged my brokenness and pain for His loving grace. Okay, so I'm confused. Do you eat dick now? What's your deal? Jackie, my deal is that I entered the throne room with a repentant heart and rebuked the enemy that keeps me from the Father. When I found Jesus, I found someone who truly loves me, and through obedience to Him, my identity is no longer in my attractions, but in Christ. You know what I think, Virginia? I think that you are immoderate in love and immoderate with substances, and so you need an imaginary father figure to make all the rules because you can't control yourself. But your weakness doesn't mean that everyone else should have to live in a state of enforced mental infancy. Mental infancy? Bondage to the flesh is mental infancy. I know, Justin, the chains of sin. I know the murmuring complaints of the flesh, the itch, the ache, the shame. I lived in mud. I lived in filth. I know the thorns, the seething cauldron, the great whirlwind that whips sinners round an endless wheel of pain. But my shame was hammered to the cross for those who belong to Christ, have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Virginia, who are you trying to impress with this ostentatious sexual anorexia? Who is the beneficiary of your erotic constipation? God? I really don't think he cares, Gorge. Celibacy is not a good deed. To me, this all just sounds like a lot of words to say that you're gay and you hate yourself. I don't think I could have put it less succinctly myself. Is it hate to worship the glory of God over the glory of self? Where's my meal? Is it hate to be anchored to the Savior's will that leads me from temptation? Damn it. To walk with purpose, abiding in the identity of who God made me? Is it hate to heal the brokenness and be made whole through radical obedience to the Holy Spirit? Have you been made whole, Virginia? Because to me, it sounds like you amputate half of your own soul and you call it sin and shame. Well, that's my definition of sexual brokenness. Why am I being lectured about amputation by a castrato? She's hilarious. She's a wit. We are all half angel and half beast. The flesh must die so the spirit may live. The soul, by definition, is not the flesh. Have you really wandered so far astray? Have you feasted with such profligacy on apples of Sodom that you think the urge to fornicate is half the soul? No, Virginia, that's not what I think. What I think is that you have a vulgar, Cracker Barrel understanding of human sexuality, and you're on a save the children type moral crusade because you lack the adult capacity to face the demons in your own head. You talk about the flesh and same-sex temptation. Well, what even is that, Virginia? I want specifics. What is this terrible thing you're so afraid you're gonna do if Jesus stops holding your hand for 10 minutes? What? You think you're gonna rail a line of hype off a stripper's tits? Excuse me? Answer this. What do you think erotic love is a desire for? Wait, I know this one. Sex. No, that's too easy. Erotic love is not aimless pleasure seeking. It's a longing for connection, for recognition, for wholeness, to traverse the lonely void that separates us from each other, to liberate repressed energy, to feel alive. Love is not the flesh. It's not temptation. It's nothing like the urge to punch someone in the face. It's nothing like being an alcoholic. It's not a craving. It's a yearning. The desire for reunion with our other half, Aristophanes. But you people don't understand that, because you are vulgarians. You have no sense of humanity, and you have no sense of the erotic. Well, that sounds like a bunch of liberal, Marxist bullcrap. Jackie, your brain is so small. It's just so tiny. Look at me. You're a dum-dum, okay? And I'm gonna need you to stop talking. As usual, the cancel culture woke Stapo is trying to silence me. Jackie, I really am trying to silence you this time, because you're so stupid, and I can't stand it anymore. So shut up. I'm giving you the plague, liberal. Okay, well, I hope it kills me, because I'm done. See, I'll never get sick, because every day, I drink a pint of antifungal hedgehog medication. Doctors don't want you to know about it. I could not possibly be more done. You may be done, but I'm not. Well, you people never are you? You want to talk about yearning? I get it. I used to live in shame. I know the insatiable longing to be with another woman. Yes, we've all noticed. Let me tell you, it is not freedom, it is bondage. You do not possess the flesh, Justin Tableau. The flesh possesses you. Rebuke it and be free, or perish as a slave. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. You people do love to rebuke things, don't you? Justin, the love you yearn for can only be found in Jesus. Only He can fill the void. I know. I used to be like you, Justin. I was lost. I was blind. I was confused in my identity. I used to reject the gospel until my sin took everything from me and I needed a savior. And then I called out to God for salvation, and He came to me as a loving Father. It's not too late for you, Justin. You are so loved. God loves you. But this is not God's intent for you. It is ridiculous to me that you think you know God's intent. The height of cosmological narcissism. I'm sorry, has Reddit gone offline? Have we run out of fedoras in America? I'm just trying to understand why you hate God. I'm just trying to understand why you hate love. God is love. Is He? The only love worth having. What you call love, the sin I used to live in, the world, the flesh, and the devil, that only ever brought me pain. Yes, because heartbreak is painful. Love is painful. The poets are unanimous. Love is bittersweet, says Sappho. Eros, giver of pain. What's Sappho? A pagan pornographer, the sort of filth these people want to teach to children. Well, if the Aeolian lyric poets can't tell us what love is, then God damn it, I don't know who can. Well, God for one. God has a sexual plan for all of us. That's odd. God's plan is for male and female to be one flesh. Men's and women's bodies fit together for the purpose of creating children. You realize you don't need a man to have a baby, right? See, seminal fluids are not difficult to come by, even in this economy. You have a guy? A semen guy? That's just most guys. Look, I do need to brush up on my apologetics, but since I'm among heathens, clearly, I will do my best to argue not from faith, but from reason. I love reason. Do you? Tell me this, Justin. Which is better? A love that is eternal? Or a love that can be ripped away at any moment? I'm sorry your girlfriend left you. That must have been really hard. Just answer the question. Nothing is eternal, Virginia. Except maybe sanctimonious assholes. Isn't a love that is eternal superior to a love that is fleeting? Yes, Socrates, it is certain. And don't you yearn? Not just for a love in the moment, but for a love that lasts eternity? Yes, Socrates, that is evident. And isn't eternal love what we call God? Yes, Virginia, we all want to be loved, but sometimes we don't get what we want. So you have no argument. Do I really need an argument? This is just a semantic trick. You're saying that God is eternal love, and then magically that must exist because you defined it that way? So you don't have an argument? I'm sorry. Interesting. I didn't prepare to have a debate about Neoplatonism with a 5-alarm lesbo cosplaying as a trad wife. I'm supposed to take this seriously? Why? Why am I even here? What am I doing? Why am I talking to these people? I think you're here because God led you here, Justin. I don't think God leads people to podcasts. Clearly, this transgender identity of yours is a defense against the emptiness you feel inside. There's a hunger in your soul no pleasure of the flesh can satisfy. Do you not feel the thirst in your body? Like a parched land. Well, yeah, I feel the thirst. I'm sure we all feel the thirst. If I may quote Psalm 63, please don't. You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water. Because your love is better than life. My lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live. And in your name I will raise up my hand. I will be fully satisfied as in the richest of foods. With singing lips, my mouth will praise you. Virginia, go to therapy, says the delusional man who thinks he's a woman. You're the one who needs to go to therapy. No, you go to therapy. I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. I will pray straight to Satan. Look, can't we just agree that we're all a little Looney Tunes? You have your Jesus bullshit. You have your gender nonsense. And I'm sure I must have something. The free market. Right. We all have our little beliefs. The important thing is that we cling to them, and we never let go, no matter how much evidence gets in the way, because that's what makes us free. And freedom is what makes America great. Other countries, they don't have choices, but in America, we have the freedom to choose whatever we want. So can we do drugs? No, that's illegal. I thought you said we could choose. Yes, but we have to make the right choices. And what if we want to make the wrong choices? The boot of the law will crush you without mercy. You will be locked in a tiny cage that is literally the opposite of freedom. Well, we have to be tough on crime. It's the only way to keep this country free. We have to build more prisons. Who decides what the right and wrong choices are? Well, Father decides. Father always decides. And do you always do what Father says? Of course, we always do what Father says. Why? Because Father says so. Why can't you just admit that you hate God because you want to sleep with men? Oh, I don't want to sleep with men. Yes, you do. You're a man who struggles with gender confusion and same-sex temptation. No, I'm not. I'm a lesbian. Just like you, girl. My heart was also broken by a woman. I thought she was a cat girl. She turned out to be a fuckboy. You are a straight man. I mean, at this point, I wish. But no, definitely a gay woman. We're all stuck with it. Hold on. So you're attracted to women, but you became a woman. Does that mean you're attracted to yourself? No. In the mirror? No, because I'm not a fucking animal that can't tell the difference between my own reflection and a different person. Desire is always for something that you lack. You can't desire yourself because you're already one with yourself. Desire feeds on absence. It reaches out across a void. I don't know. I think if I was a lesbian, I'd fuck me. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Aren't a lot of serial killers transgendered? Do you have bodies in your basement? You better watch out or you're gonna be next. Are those clothes even yours? Or are you wearing the clothes of your victim? Jackie, I will drizzle a red wine reduction over your liver, and I will feast upon it. Jackie, these transsexuals, they're the greediest of all perverts. It's not enough for you to possess a woman. You also have to appropriate female beauty for yourself. Who said anything about female beauty, Virginia? You're the one who keeps bringing that up. Nice. Got her. Shut up, dum-dum. I said it to hurt her, not to entertain you. You stay out of this. Look, so you're a straight man. You could have had a wife. You could have raised a family. Your life could have meant something. But you threw it all away? You really think having babies is the only way to have a meaningful life? Do you have babies? Well, priests don't have babies. Maybe think of queer people as priests. Except, you know, the people we have sex with are adults. Whoa, okay. That's Catholics. That's not Christians. That's kind of crossing a line, don't you think? Oh, has free speech gone too far? Now it's gone too far? Can we have a civil conversation, please? Is it impossible to have a civil conversation in America today? Well, that ship has sailed and sunk. Virginia, I believe you were about to exercise Christian humility by explaining why your barren life of self-flagellation is more meaningful than mine. I walk with the Spirit until the day I go to glory. That's my meaning. Your meaning is what? To fabricate an already fading illusion of feminine beauty until you rot away unresurrected in the earth? And for what? To mutilate God's image and to live a lie? Anything else would be a lie. If God exists, I'm sure his mind is bigger than yours. And with or without your approval and understanding, I will always be the way I am. Look, can't we reach a reasonable compromise? I think you should have the right to do whatever sick shit that you're into. Just leave children out of it. Like, whatever this is, keep this away from children. And that's why we should increase police funding to fight the war on drugs. Listen, I'm just trying to help you understand how lost you really are. I know my place in this world. I've found love, family, belonging, fellowship in the church. Have you found fellowship in the LGBT2A $ community? Well, obviously not. because it's a bunch of wounded people wounding each other. Case in point. There you are, one of the worst I've ever seen. So, you're alone, you're far from God's grace, and you have no catgirl GF. Can you honestly say that you're happy? That you're fulfilled? That you have purpose? That you have hope? Hello? Hello? Jesus!
Don't say that name in front of me.
How did you get in my house?
Oh, I get into a lot of people's houses.
Who are you? What are you?
Well, I used to be an angel.
And now?
Let's just say I'm a different line of work.
A satanic visitation. At this time of year, at this time of night, in this part of the country, localized entirely within my bathroom?
Yes.
Is this gonna be a weird sex thing?
Do you want it to be?
No, I don't care for this. I'm really not used to this.
Well, I can help you with that.
Can you?
Sure, I can help with anything. Depression, anxiety, insomnia, pain, boredom, failure, shame. Shame? If it's a shame.
No, yeah, there is the shame. There's always gonna be the shame. But it's a complex cocktail. There's the heartbreak, there's the loneliness, the self-loathing. I'm a parched land, Ruth. I've got the hunger. The emptiness inside.
Oh, emptiness inside. Well, baby girl, let me fill you up.
I thought you said this wasn't gonna be a weird sex thing.
It's not a weird sex thing. Potions, Justine. Potions. I have potions that will fill the emptiness inside.
Potions?
Elixirs, serums, tonics, medicaments. Think of me as a salesman, an apothecary.
The dealer.
Are you trying to get demonetized?
Sorry. What potions do you have?
Well, this is one of my favorites. It's called Hype. This will make you come alive. You'll jump right out of your shell. Say goodbye to shyness, self-doubt, inhibition. You'll have energy, confidence, charisma. You'll finally get things done. You'll connect with people. You'll always know just what to say.
Lucy, the time for that was about 12 hours ago. At this point, I just want the pain to stop.
Pain. Well, I surely have something for that. It's called Void. One drop of this, and all the pain will melt away. The aches of the body, the agitation of desire, the sting of heartbreak, boredom, grief, and shame. All of that will fade away under a warm blanket of serenity and love.
Yes, I know what void is, but that's a very hard potion. And it's a dark path that I don't want to go down.
Baby, it's my job to lead people down dark paths. You'd really rather sit there in your little tub of sadness, all alone. What, do you need a clear mind to process how bad you were on that podcast? Because it was embarrassing, humiliating, honestly. It was difficult to watch.
Shut up.
Is it some kind of masochism? You just want to feel all the pain, man. Because you're not impressing anyone. I mean, what is your plan for the evening? You're gonna sit around stalking your ex on social media all night? Because that is pathetic. And it's so unnecessary. Because you're choosing to feel bad. When with one drop of void, you could be in bliss.
Pass.
The cool kids are doing it.
The cool kids are absolutely not doing it because it's not the 90s. Kids today are vaping Benadryl. Don't you keep up with this?
Okay, I mean, I respect your choice, but I'm not going anywhere. I will stay right here, and I will remind you every minute for hundreds of consecutive minutes that your pain is optional, and I have the antidote right here. But I guess you'd just rather feel pain, and shame, and humiliation, and heartbreak, and boredom, loneliness, despair, disappointment, failure, anguish, frustration.
Look, I'm a smart person, okay? And I'm not gonna let you turn me into some kind of pathetic junkie.
Pathetic? Is it pathetic to feel good? Because when I look at you, I see someone who feels bad. And to me, that's pathetic.
Well, the thing about that... Just give me the goddamn break.
Well, that didn't take a lot of convincing. I thought I was going to be really nice.
Well, my will is weak, okay? Can I have the potion, please?
Alright, well, if you're a little patient, you should really do this the right way, okay? It's called harm reduction. What you're going to do is take one drop, and only one drop, of pure void into water. This is important. Do not do too many drops.
What happens if I do too many drops?
Oh, you'll probably die.
I'll die?
I told you it was important.
Well, how many drops is too many drops?
Well, it's difficult to say exactly. It depends on a lot of factors.
Seriously?
But it's your first time, so just do something.
So, do I just drink it, or...?
Of course you drink it. It's a purely fictional magical potion utterly disconnected from any real-world social issues. What else would you do with it?
Okay.
Good girl.
I don't feel anything.
Okay, well give it a minute. In about 15 seconds, you are not going to know the meaning of the word pain. Are you ready for that?
You see, I have never been more ready for anything in my goddamn...
Where is she going? Well, don't thank God, thank me. I will not have the Father taking credit for my work.
Lucy! Lucy! Luciferia! Mother! A doctor! Mother doctor! Doctor mother! Mom! Mother void! Mother void!
Yeah?
Hold me, doctor. I'm being cancelled.
Oh, so a bunch of furries have mad at you online. So what?
You don't understand, doctor. I'm in love with this furry.
You really are far from God. You're further from God than I am.
Lucy, can I get a drop?
A drop. I thought you didn't want to go down dark path.
Doctor, my pain is at a 10.
I thought I was going to get to tempt you all over again. I'm a little disappointed, honestly. I enjoy the thrill of the chase. But there's no chase with you. No chase at all. You're easy. An easy little void slut. A slut for the void.
Lucy, if I wanted a sermon, I'd have called the other guy. Please, just give me the void so I can feel the emptiness.
If it's the void you want, the void you shall have. But you don't call me Lucy anymore, understand? You call me Mommy now. Because I own you.
Yes, Mommy dearest.
Five drops already. escalating, aren't we?
Well, yeah, because 1 drop doesn't really work anymore.
So you're gonna do 5 drops?
Just to take the edge off. I need 5 drops to take the edge off, so I'm gonna do 5 drops.
Oh, wow. If it's just to take the edge off, that's a very convincing argument. By all means, continue.
Well, thank you for being supportive. Cheers. That was dumb. That was so dumb. Shit. I need to quit. I've gotta quit. I'm gonna quit.
Oh, you're gonna quit, are you?
Yes, Mother. I'm gonna quit.
Good luck.
I'll quit after 1 more drop.
Of course.
Alright, that's it. Never again. I'm quitting. I quit. It's just a simple matter of giving up the only thing that makes me feel like life is worth living. How hard could that be? I can't do this.
Hi there, known genius Elon Musk here, full of good ideas that always work out. Tell me, wouldn't it be epic to live on a Mars colony? Life on the Red Frontier. What could be more le epic Reddit 420 Keanu Reeves than that? But just what is a Mars colony? Well, it's a colony on Mars. It's the reason why SpaceX exists in the first place, and they are already working on it. The establishment of the colony itself, together with a lunar base, is scheduled for 2022, as announced in 2017.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned. destroyed a turret. Triple kill. Shut down. Your turret has been destroyed. Been slain.
shooting we had yesterday, that's what I was wondering. So there's all this political debate about, gun control and all that kind of stuff. I wonder how much role there is, how much responsibility there is on the press not to cover it. Like,
in terms of like making the person famous?
yeah, or even that, like, the location or anything.
What?
Maybe the fact that it happened.
Okay, the first part is understandable. Like, yes, the media, like, actually covering, like, the shooter, their identity, and, like, offering coverage to the shooter's identity, it can create copycats or people that, like, want to get notoriety that way, can see it, like, as a viable option. So I don't have an issue with that. Like, that take, it started off reasonable and so quickly became unreasonable.
How could that be possible, though?
I don't know. But I'm just saying.
It's an atrocity, and that needs to be taken into consideration when people talk about gun control and they talk about psychological problems that people have. All sorts of psychological disorders that people have, medicines that people are on. A lot of these people are on disassociatives or they're on psychotropic medicine. Like, is that causing them to be able to do that? Is it just because they're fucked up already and that's why they're on this medication? If you look at the number of school shooters and mass shooters that are on psychiatric medication, it's astounding.
But that's usually not talked about in those terms, right?
Right.
It's talked about, in Buffalo, it's talked about the racial aspect of it. So it's a hate crime.
Right.
And then here.
Hello? What? Bro, these motherfuckers are literally, like, saying loudly and proudly that they're doing this crime for a white supremacist purpose. What more can someone who engages in a hate crime while simultaneously saying, I'm doing a hate crime because I hate this, what more can they do for these fucking dumbasses to be like, okay, maybe this is a hate crime?
Here in Texas, it's talked about, they politicize it immediately about gun control.
Yeah.
And so it seems like there's an over-the-top artificial drama conjured up by the press to get more attention versus sort of properly putting this thing in its context. And I think any one event deserves the press it gets, but it's worthwhile.
This is like, dude, why do people think this guy's smart? Because he was like, he is in his field, strictly in his field. Yeah, he might be like very good in AI or some shit, right? A lot of people often look at that and think, oh, that translates to everything else. And to those people, I bring up the Ben Carson example, right? Like, I think most people are not going to look to Ben Carson and be like, well, that's a brilliant person, clearly, when he sometimes unironically forgets to fucking breathe, okay? But he is actually very fucking good when it comes to being a neurosurgeon. Technical knowledge does not equal logic. That's the difference with him. No, but you can also be a logical person too, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have like good fucking assessment and good takes on issues that pertain to, I guess, politics.
Thinking about the fact that, not the fact, but I think every coverage increases the chance of it happening again.
Yeah, it does.
Because it plants that idea into the minds of young people that this is, it sucks being young. It sucks being human, first of all. You go, especially drugs, depression, life can be a struggle, and nobody gives a fuck. You can feel like nobody gives a fuck about you. You can feel angry. You can feel lost and hopeless and all those kinds of things. And that can manifest itself in wanting to be heard by the world.
Yeah.
So you can understand that sort of imperative. And if the press tells you that this is one way to be heard, it just, I think that a different message is better. First of all, a message that all of us know, that life can be hard. And then a message of health, of sort of this too shall pass, of challenging yourself, of being optimistic about the future, of trying to grow, trying to survive, whatever the hell you're feeling, going through, trying to survive that.
I don't know how he started his podcast and stuff. I don't know how he started his podcast. I don't really know too much about him and his background. But what I do see here is basically the same shit that I see from a lot of Joe Rogan's like guests that want to build like a big career, a media career. But what he's doing right now is just like basic fucking self-help for rudderless men, stating like very obvious things, even though like the statement is also accompanied by it seems like a intentional deflection away from and a weird hand waving away from like the actual true cause, or at least one of the fucking important factors in the subject matter, which is guns, how easily accessible guns are. If you turn around in the aftermath of a massacre like this and say, the media is motivated to turn this conversation into a gun violence conversation because they're motivated by clicks or something like that, I don't really fucking care if you're accompanying that statement with like a whole bunch of, self-help bullshit or preaching about fucking love and all this other good stuff, because you're literally, you did the first part already. Like the second part is just to build build a fan base and develop good nature and charitability. But the first part's the part that I don't like. You go on Joe Rogan, you say some fucking self-help shit, you talk about men as like you talk about the truth about men experiencing struggles in society and not being heard. Some of those are real sentiments being expressed, okay? And then you fucking turn around and like pad the deck with a bunch of right-wing commentary and success.
I just feel like the press wants the drama of the shooting. They're hungry for that drama.
Yeah.
I see that with Ukraine. And what worries me about Ukraine as well is that the press will move on. And then the war will still be going on. And they will no longer care.
What is the, like, when you're
I don't
dealing
disagree
with
with
a
this take.
school shooter type situation?
The point that he is making about the media and its interest, jumping from point to point, that's fine, that's true. But you can't use the inadequate media response or the fucking monsters that work in mainstream media as a way to basically solidify an underlying right-wing ideology or an underlying right-wing opinion, a reactionary opinion, such as guns are not responsible in any capacity, and this last atrocity that took place. Especially if you're like empirically driven, you're like a science guy. I mean, look at the fucking factors, brother. All these other countries have mental health problems as well. All these other countries have fucking video games. All these other countries have everything else. The only thing that these countries don't have, or the only thing that these countries differ from us, we have guns readily available, broadly and easily available weapons. All these other countries that have high rates of gun ownership in comparison to European nations, for example, like Switzerland, as one of the chatters pointed out, not have nearly the same rate of gun violence, and certainly not mass shootings. And that is because they have regulations. That is the fundamental difference. New Zealand, like I mentioned, 5 million people, 1.5 million guns in circulation. Obviously nowhere near the same rate as America, where America has 120% more guns for 100% of the people. Obviously America has like an incredible an incredible number of guns in circulation. But in a place like New Zealand, if you want to get a gun, you get 3 character references. Same in Canada. If you want to get a gun, you need character references to vouch for you, and also a psyche valve before you're able to get one.
Like, what is the alternate? Like, how else would you address it? You know, we want to find out what's wrong with this kid. So he's dead. So what caused it? Will we get an understanding of it? Do you hold the parents responsible? Like, what if you find out the parents were horribly abusive? Or what if you find out this is the product of schizophrenia, bullying in school? Like, what do you, like, how does one address it? I wrote this thing once that said this country has a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem. And that's what it is. There's so many guns. There's more guns than there are people. It's not I don't think it's a gun situation. And I don't think you can change the fact that and I don't think it's wise to take the guns away from the people and leave all the power to the
Dude, it was so fucking brain dead. He literally mentioned the problem. Because Joe Rogan's not a professional politician, right? He's just a dumb guy who unfortunately assumes he's a smart guy. And what I fail to recognize in all of this is that, how do they fucking get captivated by right-wing commentary so quickly and so easily to like repeat it? You know what I mean? You're literally just repeating fucking the right-wing deflections. Oh, this country has a mental health problem. Like, yeah, it's true. Except so do other countries. Why the fuck do they not have the same rate of mass shootings and gun violence and gun deaths caused by, easily accessible, unregulated flow of a fuckload of weapons? Why?
government. We see how they are even with an armed populace. They still have a tendency towards totalitarianism.
Yeah, totally.
And the more increased power and control you have over people, the easier it is for them to do what they do. And there's a natural inclination when you're a person in power to try to hold more power and acquire more power. And there's never an inclination to give more power back to people, give more freedom back. Freedoms lost are rarely regained. And so the situation is, should you be able to own a gun to defend yourself if you're a law-abiding citizen and you know that the police are horribly understaffed and you know that crime and violence are...
The police are not horribly understaffed. They are incompetent, though. And part of their incompetence comes from bootlickers like Joe, who offer them unconditional support and quite literally advocate against accountability. That's the reason why they think they can get away with just like murdering people that they shouldn't be murdering and not murdering the people that they should be murdering. They've never been understaffed. They've never had lower budgets. No one got defunded.
Should you be able to own a gun to defend yourself if you're a law-abiding citizen and you know that the police are horribly understaffed and you know that crime and violence are real things? And I personally know people who've been robbed. I know people who have had home invasions. I know people that have been in gunfights. What should we do? Should you leave these people unarmed and to be at the mercy of a criminal? Or what should we do? Should we red flag any kid who writes an awful poem or draw something fucked up on his notebook?
Why are you going to like insane extreme examples, dude? Like a full nationwide gun ban is never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. No one is even looking for that. I mean, there are people who want it, but like it's never going to happen. So why are you attacking that point? And red flag laws are accompanied by mental assessments, dude. Like psychiatric evaluations. And even then, it's probably not gonna happen either, even though it should. It's not like, oh, dude, you wrote a fucking poem? Like, oh, guess you can't have a gun no more. That's not how that works.
That discussion comes up in terms of like basically NSA-style surveillance. Anybody that posts a gun, will you be allowed to post pictures of guns? There's a lot of people saying, well, you should red flag it if it's if you post pictures of guns or have any kind of the symptoms of somebody that might be able to commit this kind of crime. But that's pushing surveillance.
Well, what about people that are just gun enthusiasts?
Right.
You know, people that love handguns the way some people love watches. You know, there's people that are enthusiasts of, gun engineering.
And that's most of them.
Yeah.
That's most gun
The
owners.
vast majority of them.
So it's much more a mental health problem. And it's also, in the full context of things, and this is a tragedy, but there's also an element to this that it's a tragedy the way a hurricane is a tragedy. That there's cruel things happen in this world. There's tragic...
I will literally never be able to take this man seriously for the rest of my life. This fucking idiot just said, gun violence is a tragedy like a natural disaster. First of all, no. What the fuck? Are you insane? Do you think guns are growing on trees? Do you think gun violence is just a naturally occurring phenomena? Do you think it's hailing bullets? I've said this, like, conservatives want us to believe that gun violence is like a naturally occurring phenomena. That was like an embellishment. That was an exaggeration. And here he is, straight up making it seem like it's an act of fucking God, dude. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, dude.
Unexpected dark things happen in this world. And it's dangerous to generalize from those problems into something like what I hear about. There's a race war, or there's a gun control problem. As people sort of leverage these tragedies to make some kind of political statement, some kind of societal statement.
This is literally the stupidest fucking idiot on the planet, dude. Yeah, he's an MIT guy, but like, this is literally the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard from a person who's a scientist, supposedly. How are you fucking running around and being like, I'm a scientist? How does he have a job at MIT as a lecturer, and he just simply is like refusing to even entertain empirical evidence in any meaningful capacity when it comes to this issue? He's like, literally will not look at it. I cannot comprehend a world outside of what I have been predisposed to believe. Not gonna look at it. Not even pondering it. I don't even want to fucking think like, I wonder if like the readily availability, the mass production, and ease of access to an arsenal of weapons here in this country perhaps has something to do with like the rate of gun violence in this country, and specifically mass shootings in this country. I wonder if that is the reason. I wonder if that plays a role in it. No, probably not. I mean, dude, even in a country like Switzerland that actually has severe gun regulation, okay, severe gun control, but has a higher rate of weapons in homes per capita than the rest of the fucking countries in Europe, they still end up having more gun violence and more mass shootings even than the other comparable nations around them, because they just have more guns. This is just straight up the reality, okay? Two things. If you look at two fucking things, two facts always are the same. If you have more guns in circulation, there's a higher likelihood of gun violence happening in your country. And if there are less regulations on top of that, the likelihood of gun violence increasing, mass shootings increasing, skyrockets. Okay? That's it. That's it. There's nothing you need to know other than those two. If you're a person who loves science, if you're like a I fucking love science guy, you know, you're like watching, you're on Facebook, you're clicking on I fucking love science posts and stuff, like, you should recognize that. You should see that. It is completely insane to me. I thought this was like an actually smart dude. I thought MIT was a credible institution where they're not going to have like any fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry that has idiotic approaches like this and refuse to engage data, running around and going on the Joe Rogan show and saying stuff like this. What the fuck?
Versus dark, evil shit happening in this world.
I think also people try to formulate solutions to problems as if these problems have a limited amount of variables. Like if you have 100 people and you have a gun violence problem versus 330 million people that have all sorts of problems.
America is significantly higher than other countries in per capita too, though. Like per capita gun violence, per capita, so like it scales along with. What is he saying? I don't understand. Like, does Joe Rogan not know what a scale is?
If you have 100 people and you have a gun violence problem versus 330 million people that have all sorts of problems, all sorts of issues with their past, psychology, abuse, trauma, medicine, psychoactive drugs, and psychiatric disorders. And
I think you just described Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And all in one list.
no, because
I love that. Like, the dumb guys are like, yeah, we're actually above the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp drama. Like, we're actually talking about the issues that really matter by repeating conservative talking points and not even spending more than a fucking fraction of a second. No shot that this guy fucking Lex Friedman has looked into this. Either he is, okay, I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. Either he just was misguided by like a lot of right-wing propaganda, and never really checked it, or he is just like a straight up right-wing propaganda. Because the things that he just brought up are some of the worst fucking talking points I've ever heard on this matter. It seems like it's a little bit of a grift. I don't know. Maybe it's not. It smells a little weird. It feels a little grifty. Okay?
destroyed a turret. Team has destroyed an inhibitor. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned."
About it because I'm like, I enjoy it, but also its effects on me are really negative. And so I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's worth it. And it's been really hard because the pros that I mentioned earlier, although they are loaded pros, if you will, because they're not as simple as being like, this is good. It's like more complicated than that because it's like, this is good as long as you're not overdoing it and as long as, you know, you have a designated driver and as long as you're in a safe environment and like, you know, there's a lot, it's a loaded pro, right? Shall I say. Those pros are still pros and they are things that make alcohol enjoyable for me personally and for millions of other people. But the cons are crazy. And its effect on my mental state, especially, is very serious and not good. And the main reason why I wanted to talk about this was because, you know, there's probably a lot of you out there, especially young people who are just starting to drink. And you might notice that you're feeling really depressed and anxious after you drink. And you might be like, what's going on? You know, like, is this normal? And you might not even link it to the alcohol. And so you might just be thinking that you're feeling depressed or you're feeling anxious. And that's just the way that it is. But alcohol can very much make those feelings worse. And so if you're someone like me who's prone to anxiety and depression and things like that, I really recommend, you know, you kind of take note of how alcohol is affecting you in the weeks following even. Because I was kind of in denial at first that it was exacerbating my negative mental health issues. I was in denial of it at first because I was like, there's no way, you know, like, it can't be making it worse because it's so fun when I have a drink, you know? Most of the time it's fun, anyway, shall I say. It's not always fun, but I would say 9 times out of 10 it's fun. You know, I was like, how is it possible that this could be bad? But it is. And I think it's interesting because I feel like I'm about to go off on a tangent here that's going to sound crazy, possibly, but just bear with me. I feel like in life, all good things, all fun things, all things that seem almost too good to be true, always come at a price. And the price might not be immediate, but all good things come with a price. I would say with alcohol, the price is that it might negatively affect your mental health. Or, you know, something really negative and dangerous could happen when under the influence of alcohol. That's another price that you may pay. It seems like this cheat code, you know, having a drink or having 3 is like a cheat code to a good time. But it's unfortunate that in life it's not that simple. And everybody's price that they might pay for alcohol is going to be different. For me, it's that it exacerbates is it exacerbate? It sounds a little bit too close to the word masturbate. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Exacerbate. Is that right? Exacerbate. Okay. Exacerbate. To make worse. That's what that word means. Anyway, for me, the price I pay for drinking alcohol is that it exacerbates my anxiety and depression. For you, it might be that it can make you angry and it can make you start fights with people. For other people, it might be that it makes them really emotional and they just start crying if they drink too much. For some people, it might be that they make really fucking stupid decisions. For some people, it might be that they reach out to friends or ex-partners and send things that they will regret in the morning. For everybody, there's a negative effect of alcohol. Even if you're on your best behavior, you know, even if you don't overdo it and you handle yourself with the utmost of grace, there's probably going to be a negative side effect in there somewhere. Because as I said, in life, nothing so perfect ever comes for free. And alcohol, in a way, is kind of perfect. It's this sometimes nasty tasting juice that makes you feel good and calm and kind of makes you forget about things that you don't want to think about. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on to another con of drinking alcohol. I have more. There's a serious issue that I already kind of touched on, but that I want to touch on more. And that's becoming socially dependent on alcohol. Okay? It's easy to do. It's very easy to do. And I personally have struggled with this a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I've found myself, let's give an example. After, maybe I'm in Paris for Paris Fashion Week, and there's a social event one night. There have been times in my life when I felt like I couldn't socialize without a drink in like that type of setting. And obviously I was allowed to be having a drink because I was in Paris. Love you. And that's not a good feeling, because you never want to feel like you need something pretty much ever in life, unless it's like obviously a medication or whatever. Like something that is like that serious is different. But I'm talking about things that are, again, inconsequential, alcohol, people, even at times. You never want to feel like you need things. You only want to feel like things elevate your life, but they aren't necessary. Alcohol is a good example. Alcohol should just take something that's good and make it better, in theory. People in your life should not make your life good. They should make your life better, right? By this I mean that your life, or the social event that you're going to, should be good in your eyes whether or not you're drinking alcohol, or whether or not you have certain people in your life. If you need alcohol for social events to be fun, or you need certain people in your life for your life to be good, then there's an issue, right? And obviously we're not talking about feeling dependent on people right now, but I'm using that as an example because I feel like it's a great one. I've struggled with feeling like I socially need alcohol in my life for periods of time, for sure. And here's what happens when you start relying on alcohol socially. You start to lose confidence in your social skills, and it can make you lose self-esteem. When I have been in periods of my life where I felt like I needed alcohol in order to be social, when I wasn't drinking alcohol and I was just completely sober and I was social, I felt less confident in my ability to be social. Like when I'm in the grocery store and I'm talking to the cashier, I'm less confident in that type of interaction. Or if one of my friends even calls me on the phone and we haven't talked in a while, I would feel a lot more nervous about that conversation because I was like, oh, we haven't talked in a while. What's it going to be like? What's it going to be like? I didn't feel as confident in myself socially without having alcohol in my system. And now, let me tell you that I was only drinking alcohol socially occasionally. This would be like whenever it was available for me and allowed for me. But I was using it to help me socially, and I was kind of relying on it. And that trickled into my daily life, even though I was only doing it occasionally. And I think that's the worst part. I lost faith in my social skills because I felt like I was socially my best when I was drinking. That's not good, you know? But it doesn't need to be that way. You can still socialize and drink and not become socially dependent on it. It's kind of a conversation you have to have with yourself. When you're having a drink at a social event, you kind of have to ask yourself, am I drinking because I need it? Or am I drinking because I just want to elevate this experience a little bit? And I'm in the mood, and fuck it. You know, that's a conversation only you can have with yourself, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately. Because you're your own bestie, in theory. I hate myself, but I'm trying to be my own bestie as much as possible. I don't know, becoming socially reliant on it is there's a very fine line, because obviously it's very enjoyable to drink socially, but you just have to be honest with yourself about whether or not you're relying on it, and that's a really hard thing to do. It's a really hard conversation to have with yourself, you know? It's hard to hold yourself accountable in that way, and eventually I noticed myself kind of feeling like I needed to have a drink when I would go to an event, say in Europe and whatever. I would feel like I needed to have a drink. And at a certain point, I realized, I was like, I don't think that's good. Number one, I don't think it's good. It definitely, something seems off about that. But also, I'm having negative repercussions the next morning and for 2 weeks following when I drink. So I should probably take a little bit of time off. And so I did. I took a lot of time off from drinking at all, even at social events. And I learned a lot about myself. I will tell you that. I learned a lot about myself, and I grew my confidence back socially. I don't know what it is, but when I'm not drinking, or I'm very rarely drinking, I consider rarely like once a month, I'm just so much more confident in who I am. I feel so much more connected to who I am. And I should mention that the only substance that I use personally is alcohol. I do not smoke weed. I do not and cannot participate in marijuana-related activities. So when I'm not drinking alcohol, I'm fully sober, right? Like, I'm not doing anything because I don't smoke weed and I don't do anything else. So alcohol is kind of the only thing that I participate in that affects my brain like that. You know what I'm saying? Takes me out of my normal baseline state. And when I'm not drinking, I feel so like weirdly self-aware and like spiritually connected to myself, and I just feel really good. I just socially feel more confident in any scenario. I feel like invincible socially because I'm like, I could go to a dinner party with 15 people I don't know and not have a drink, and I feel confident in that because I've trained myself to feel confident in uncomfortable social situations by not allowing myself to have that drink. And now, if I want to have a drink at a social setting, I'm just drinking it to elevate the experience. I'm not drinking it to solve a problem. And I found that it's just such a better structure for me. Now listen, for everybody it's going to be different. I'm just sharing my experience. What you do, I do not judge you. I love you. You can do whatever you want. Even if you fuck up, and you maybe, even if you're fucking up now in regards to in regards to alcohol, I'm not judging you. As long as you're safe and the people around you are safe, I'm not judging you. And I'm just sharing my experience to hopefully give you some peace of mind, maybe give you a little bit of advice, share my experience, and maybe even just point out the obvious. Maybe this whole episode is just me pointing out the obvious. That's fair enough. But we're just having a conversation right now, so stop putting me in a box. Okay? Maybe I am pointing out the obvious, but who cares?
Hello, it's Idris Elba here, actor, musician, race car driver, professional fighter, and now digital radio personality.
Now you need mom to tell ready to hear it.
When I'm in a phase where I'm drinking, I just feel so self-conscious. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's maybe an effect of my anxiety being worsened, or if it's because I feel less capable socially because I had relied on it for however many instances when I was drinking socially. I don't know what it is, but it makes me feel insecure when I'm drinking a lot. I don't know. I don't know what it is. And overall, I just avoid a lot of potential bad things that can happen when you drink alcohol by not drinking it. And so this is a dilemma that I'm facing right now. And it's really tough for me. I don't know. I don't know what the perfect balance is. I feel like right now in life, I'm really trying to find balance in so many different areas. I'm trying to find balance in how I can incorporate drinking possibly into my life in a way that's positive and fun and has no negative repercussions. I'm trying to figure out balance in my social life. How much alone time is healthy and how much is too much, because sometimes I am alone too much and then sometimes I hang out with people too much, and I'm trying to figure out what that balance is. And I'm trying to figure out balance when it comes to what's being disciplined with myself when it comes to, say, work, for example. What's being too disciplined and what's not being disciplined enough. There's all this that I'm trying to figure out in my life right now. And I think alcohol is, and just even substances in general that are illegal. Like in California, marijuana, weed, I don't know, marijuana? Who the fuck calls it marijuana? I don't know. Nobody my age. Sorry, I have mucus in my sinus. Like, weed is legal here. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out, well, I mean, I can't, personally, I know that I cannot consume marijuana products that contain THC. I know that for a fact. If you want a story time, I can tell you the story time, maybe in next episode or something. If you're interested, let me know. I'm actually going to tell the story anyway, so you don't really actually have to let me know. I have this like habit of being like, let me know if you want to hear this, but I know deep down that I'm going to do it anyway. So I don't know why I did that. Anyway, but yeah, I already know that I can't participate in that, so like alcohol is kind of the only thing, and I'm just trying to figure out like how that's going to play a part in my life, and it's definitely something that is taking a lot of time for me to figure out, and that's for sure. I really don't know, like what the perfect balance is, and maybe there isn't one, and that might be a discovery that I find along this journey in my personal life. Like, I might figure out that there's just no way for me to drink alcohol in a way that is just a net neutral effect on my life, right? It doesn't have a super negative or super positive effect on my life. That's what I'm trying to find. Is there a way to do that with alcohol? But I think that the way that it affects my anxiety and my depression is just going to end up making it something that I just can't do. And that's actually really sad for me, genuinely, because I mean, I love making a drink and having it by the pool and hanging out with friends. Like, I fucking love that. I love it. And I don't feel like it's something that I, am using in a way that is like overdoing it or bad. It's so hard. So anyway, if you're going through a similar dilemma, just know you're not alone. It's really tough. It's really tough. But I will say, right now, as we speak, I'm moving into a new house. I bought a house like a year ago, and I've been remodeling it for the past year, and I've been living in a rental house in the meantime while I was, renovating, rebuilding this house. And one of the first things I did was put together a little bar area because I really wanted to have a bar. But now I'm like, do I even want to have a bar? I can still have a bar and just not drink, maybe. I don't know. You get what I'm dealing with right now, maybe, based on my explanation. You know what I'm dealing with here. It's tough, and I think a lot of people probably go through this. Anyway, to end off this episode, I'm going to give a few drinking tips that I have for those of you who either are just starting to drink, maybe you just turned that age where it's time to start drinking, whatever. Or maybe you're just somebody who isn't too savvy with alcohol. I'm gonna give some advice, and I'm not saying I'm the most savvy, but I think I got a pretty good handle on it. Personally, at my ripe age of 21, I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty good grip on like what the best practices are. My first tip is you gotta take it slow. You have to. Like, I've made the mistake before of drinking too much, too fast, too soon. Immediate crash into the ground. And it defeats the whole purpose because let me tell you, your night's not going to be fun anymore. I have a tip. If you are like me and you like to have something to sip when you're at a social event or maybe you're at dinner, let's say you slurp down your first alcoholic drink really fast. Order the same drink, but order it virgin. So order it without the alcohol as your second drink. I do this all the time. Except my drink of choice is a vodka soda. Fun fact, my drink of choice is a vodka club soda with limes squeezed into it. It's fresh. It's refreshing. I love sparkling water anyway. It's like sparkling water with lime, except it's a little bit spicy. It's the only difference. Anyway, order the same drink that you got, but order it with no alcohol in it as your second drink to break it up a little bit. If you're like, I want another drink, but you know that if you keep going with alcoholic drinks, you're going to start feeling a little bit too crazy too soon, order the same thing, but just order it without alcohol. So like for me, when I'm at dinner, let's say I order a vodka soda, I slurp it down so fast, it's gone, and I really want another one. I'm like, ooh, I want another one. But I'm like, ooh, it's too soon. I order the same thing, a club soda with lime, just without the vodka. Let's say you're really into a rum and Coke. You love rum and Coke. That's your go-to drink. Just order a Coke. You get my vibe here? It gives you the feeling that you're still participating in this evening of socializing, drinking, and living your best life. It still makes you feel like you're participating, but it gives you a little bit of a break. That's a really good tip. I would really recommend that because I think a big reason why people drink too much too fast is because they want to have something in their hand, right? And I get that. So, you can just order the virgin version of your drink. My next piece of advice is you need to make a plan before you start drinking. Let's say you're going to a party. Let's say you're going to something like that. Know how you're getting home before you go out, because I've made the mistake before of going out and not having a plan and getting to wherever I am, wherever the party is, and then, the end of the evening rolls around and me and all the friends are a little tipsy, and we're like, how the fuck are we going to get home? And we try to call an Uber, and there's no reception. And then we have to walk a mile to get reception so that we can Uber home. Things like that have happened, okay? And it's not fun. And when you're drunk, things like that are dangerous. It's not good. You don't want to be out and about fucking frolicking in the street when you're drunk. And obviously, as we all know, we're not getting in the car, right? We're not getting in the fucking car. Nobody who's drinking is getting in the car. We know that. We know that. So, you have to have a plan for a ride that's safe. So figure out if you're going to be able to have reception. And if not, you might need a designated driver, somebody who is doing the Lord's work by going out with you guys, hanging out, and then driving you home after because you don't want to be stranded in the middle of nowhere. Okay? Not good. My last piece of advice is never, ever feel like you need to drink because other people are trying to get you to drink. Now, I'm not saying this to like demonize people who are like, come on, have a drink, because I think that to a certain extent, you know, that can be an act of hospitality in a sense. Let's say people are having you over and they're like, oh, relax, like let me give you a drink, let me make you a drink. I think 9 out of 10 times there is no negative intent by anybody who's offering you a drink. But I've made the mistake of not being in the mood to drink, not really being in the mental state where I'm in a place where drinking is the right idea, and I let people serve me a drink because I don't want to be rude and decline their offer. The truth is that when someone's offering you a drink, you can absolutely say no. I have said yes despite not really wanting a drink so many times, and it's not good, because this kind of relates to an episode I made a few weeks or months back about being a yes man and letting people sort of take advantage of you. This is kind of similar to this. If you want more on this topic, go listen to that episode. But this is less about letting people walk all over you and more about being a yes man and saying yes to everything just to take the path of least resistance, right? You can say no. When somebody offers you a drink, if you're not feeling it, say no. Just be like, oh my God, I'm not in the mood right now, but like, thank you so much. Or not even say that. That's kind of weird. Don't say that. I'm not in the mood. Say just something like, oh, no, thank you. You know, I'm good right now. It's that easy. But I always used to say yes because I felt bad or weird about saying no to people. And you don't need to do that. You don't need to drink if you don't feel like it. Period. End of story. Don't just say yes because, you know, you're trying to accept somebody's act of hospitality. They will be fine if you say no. Say no. Don't force yourself to drink just to fit into a social setting. Don't fit in just to please the host of who invited you over. Only drink when you really want to and when you feel like it is going to be a positive experience for you. And obviously there's going to be mistakes that you make in life. There are going to be moments when you say yes and you have a drink just because, you know, you want to fit into the room where you're socializing. You know, there's going to be moments like that. There are going to be moments when you drink too much. There are going to be moments when you fuck up while you're drinking. There are going to be those moments. It's inevitable, and it happens to everybody. My advice is do your best to avoid those things and try to learn from your mistakes when you make them. That's the best that you can do. I think that demonizing alcohol is the wrong approach. I think a lot of people look at alcohol and are like, no, that is, you know, no, you know, like people who drink, like there's a lot of judgment about people who drink alcohol sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's kind of a polarizing topic. Obviously, there are some people who don't drink for, say, religious reasons or because maybe they have a family history of struggles with alcohol. You know, there are so many reasons why not drinking alcohol is an automatic choice for people, and that is something that does not need to be discussed because that's somebody's personal choice and decision. But on the other hand, you know, there's some people who enjoy alcohol and want to participate in drinking alcohol, and that is also, you know, a choice that you can make, and it's kind of nobody's business, right? Whether or not someone drinks alcohol. But I think that demonizing it, right, and looking at it as something that's dirty and disgusting and people who drink are this or are that, I think that whole narrative is not productive and kind of useless, and I think that it is only harmful. And I bring this up because I have known people in my life who have been super judgmental about people who drink alcohol and who have judged me for drinking alcohol. And even if I was drinking completely responsibly, and because I've encountered people in my life who have made me feel like I was a bad person for drinking, I've felt a lot of guilt about drinking or about like dumb shit I've done when I drank before, like, you know, maybe drinking too much and like throwing up, I don't know, or like telling an embarrassing story about myself, like something like that. I felt a lot of guilt throughout my life about drinking because of like just people I've known in my life that have just like made me feel guilty about it. And the conclusion that I've come to now is that, number one, it's nobody's business. Number two, there's no reason to feel guilty about drinking. Instead, I think the approach should be, if you are, you know, making mistakes while you're drinking, instead of feeling guilt about it, you should feel an inspiration to do better next time, and you should be learning from it. If you're not learning from it, then yeah, maybe there's some judgment that is reasonable from your peers or even from yourself. It's necessary judgment. But if you're just experimenting with drinking as a young person and you're doing it responsibly, there's nothing to feel guilty about, and it's nothing to beat yourself up over. I don't know if this was just something that I dealt with specifically because I just grew up around friends that like were really anti-drinking and had like nailed it into my head that like drinking makes you a loser. For so many years I heard that, right? And then it was like when it came time where I started drinking, I just constantly felt guilt every time I would drink because I was like, I'm doing this responsibly, but like I feel guilty because of what those people said and what even sometimes society says, because society's kind of mixed when it comes to alcohol. But I think that feeling guilty or bad about yourself for wanting to experiment with it is unnecessary, and I think that it's not a productive thought to have. Just don't do anything too stupid, okay? As you're only allowed to go as stupid as text your ex that you miss them. That's as stupid as you should go. And if you go a little bit stupider than that, then we maybe need to reassess here. And that's a conversation that we need to have with anybody but okay? We need to have a conversation with somebody. Anyway, that's today's episode about alcohol. I don't know what we learned. I don't know what we talked about. I don't really remember. So it's almost like I was drunk the whole time. I wasn't. I didn't even have a sip of alcohol on my 21st birthday. How crazy is that? I feel like I just wasn't in the mood. So I didn't. But anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for listening. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I hope that you found this episode interesting in some way. If you did, let me know. Tweet at me at AG Podcast or follow the Instagram and DM me at Anything Goes. Subscribe to Anything Goes, any platform that you stream podcasts. Leave a review if you feel like it. You know the drill. Check out my company, chamberlaincoffee.com. There's a lot of amazing stuff on there. I drink a cold brew while I record every episode, and the cold brew is made entirely from my brand. And it's delicious, so check it out. And that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for listening. I love you so much. And I can't wait to talk to you next week. Keep being gorgeous, keep being beautiful, keep being awesome. Love you.
The enemy's inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret.